Now coming to something more important. Suppose you have your data in separate join, merge, concatenation. So these things I will not cover into much detail. I will just cover the join part. And I will just show you some examples for concat and merge from the official documentation with the diagrams. So that is more clear than when I try to write a code to explain that. So that way I'll do. So I will tell you what is the use of this. So normally when you collect data for a particular project, you will be like splitting it across multiple CSV files. So each CSV file you will read it, you will populate into a data frame. Finally, you will need to like place it the data frames in particular order, one by one, row wise or one by one column wise, or you may want to tile it something to get your final total data. Or if you think like big data, your data is like 10,000 by 10,000 and you will be storing like in chunks of 10 by 10. Then finally you need to tile everything, right? 10 by 10, 10 by 10, 10 by 10. You have to make 10,000. Then 10 by 10, 10 by 10 downwards, you have to make total 10,000 by 10,000. So that kind of situations, we will go for this join, merge, concatenation kind of things. So that is basically concatenation. And merging where it will come is, suppose like similar to our SQL or set like operations, I am having one data corresponding to salary details of all the employees in a company. And second data frame consisting of educational background of all the employees in a company. So both this will be having like data correspond to all the employees with maybe employee ID or something. So now I want to like give incentives to employees who are having a minimum master's degree or PhD or that. So for things like that, I need to take the salary, I need to take the education qualification, I need to like club those into a single data frame. So things like that, I will go for the merging data frames. It is similar to our sets when we learned in our even our probability thing. Sets when we go for intersection, union. So similar kind of things we will try to implement using merge. So this concat and joining will be for my first application use case that I told, and merging will be for my second use case that I told. So we will just see append in detail. So append is like I have some particular data frame. I try to append the rows. So that is at the last of the towards end of the database. I am trying to insert new rows. So that way, suppose I am having a data frame, two data frames. The two data frames values are as follows. First one is having R1, R2, R3, column C1, C2, C3. Second one is having R4, R2, R5. So R2 you can see is common in both these, and C2 and C5 are my columns. So if I try to, I can do it two ways, like I can append the data frame 2 to data frame 1 and the ulta. So let's see what happens in both these cases. If I append the data frame 2 to data frame 1, as you can see R1, R2, R3, C1, this first part is same as my DF. And additionally, towards the end of the data frame, my second thing, 10, 20, that thing came. And wherever values are not there, NaN got filled. Now what if I try to, again, I will just reset that because the data frame 1 is modified. So I will just reset that once again. And now I will try to append data frame 1 to data frame 2. Then if you see, first things came are R4, R2, R5 corresponding to data frame 2, and towards the end my data frame 1, R1, R2, R3 have come. So if you see, this particular thing did not do anything about the same index. My R2 was there in data frame 1 as well as data frame 2, but this thing just blindly put one thing on top of the other. It did not, this append operation did not do anything for the common row index. Now once I try to use it for further any operations, this may land me in problems if I am using a row based LOC and all. So that thing always keep in mind. So append does not take care of that. Now suppose once you see here the columns have been came as C1, C2, C3, C5. But when I appended the other way, this thing is as expected. Data frame 2 came first, but the columns became C2, C5, C1, C3. Suppose I want to sort the columns in this so that both ways it is identical. I can use an actual argument called sort equal to true. Either compare these two. Here I got instead of C2, C5, C1, C3, C1, C2. So sorted by the alphabetical name order I got, so that these things can be used to like beautify your data frame, or when you are like comparing two data frames and all, this may come handy. Now suppose one method to solve the problem that I told earlier, R2, R5 repetition. One thing is that I can tell it like you just append the data corresponding to data frames. You ignore whatever index was already there in the data frame. So like that, I can pass one value called ignore index equal to true. That will actually ignore this thing and it will with my default 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It will reindex the particular data frame. Now I will just concat and merge. I will just show examples from official documentation because that is much clear there. So concatenation. I will go through this diagram only. I will not go into that code part and all. That you can link I will share. You can just go through this. So here you assume you have 3 data frames, data frame 1, data frame 2, data frame 3. And in the first example is similar to our append only. You have key corresponding to A, B, C, D in all 3 data frames. And you want to append first df1 followed by df2 followed by df3. And the indexes are also no confusion here 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So you can directly use this index. So that is even our append you can do like data frame 1 dot append data frame 2 followed by again data frame 1 dot append data frame 3. That way you can do, or you can directly use a concat function and you can pass the 3 data frames in a list df1, df2, df3. So that is the simpler implementation of a concat, which is similar to our append that we just saw. Now let's see some other examples. Now suppose I want to have an additional entry which tells me somebody's camera is on, I think. Okay. I want to add an additional entry which tells me from which data frame this thing originally came. So suppose I want to add those information also into my concatenation, I can pass what is actually called a keys. So if you see this thing, I will have an index corresponding to my original index. In addition, corresponding to data frame 1, there is an additional entry for X, data frame 2 additional entry for Y, and data frame 3 additional entry for Z. So things like that I can use when I am like clubbing multiple data frames, but I want to know from where it actually came. Now other things. Okay. Okay. Now we saw like row by row we were putting. Now what if I want to append it, concatenate it on the column side? So I am having a data frame 1 having index 0, 1, 2, 3 and columns A, B, C, D. And another data frame having 2, 3, 6, 7. Here you can see that 2 and 3 are common. Okay, and it has a B, D, F columns, and compared to this, B and D are common. So I want to concatenate it column wise. So as I already told, you will have to use axis equal to 1 here because you are trying to do something in the column way. So same way df pd dot concat df1 and df4 axis equal to 1. So final result you will get it as you got this thing first followed by the second thing. So as you can see here, again this did not do anything about the repetition. This B, D, F, B and D got repeated here. Whereas in the row wise, the repetition of that 2 and 3 were repeated. So that thing got clubbed here. So things like this you need to like note because these things are like common things that people can put when they design a MCQ question and all. So where it gets merged and where it does not get merged, those kind of things. So if you see here, here it was one B2, it was B2. Okay, it was just labels. Okay, it was same value in both these. So that's why here no confusions. But if different values are there, then you need to tell it how to handle those values. Now coming to our merge that we saw, one thing is you can use pd.merge. Or you can use pd.concat with a join argument which tells whether you want to do an inner join, outer join, or a left join, right join, things like that. So I will not go into details here because that will be like confusing you only. So you can just go through these diagrams. So rather than the code, go through these diagrams and try to think how these things actually came. So this concat, merge, and append, just go through this link. So and the diagrams in this. So that will make all these concepts clear to you. So I will not go into details of that. If you want maybe later in revision sections or something, That time we can go into more details of that. So similar to series that we saw, there are different attributes and methods of data frames. So I'll just tell the names. You can just try that out. We tried most of the things here earlier. Index, columns, data types will give you what is the data types of each column. Values, shape will give you the what is the length by breadth, that kind of thing. Size, transpose, head, tail, empty, describe info. Almost all of these things we saw. Whichever ones we didn't saw, you can just try it. So I'll go to the last part that I want to cover. That is data aggregations. So as I told, one thing I want to tell now is data aggregations is something very important, because this is something that we may want to use to get some summary out of the data in the data frame. So one thing that you want to think here, basically what I am trying to aggregate. Suppose I am having some marks, like our example that we saw earlier. I am having subjects, I am having people. Then I can aggregate it in two ways, right? So for one subject, I can get the mean mark of my people, right? So that tells me that across all the people, what is the mean marks everyone's scored in each of those subjects. Another thing I can do is I can do that column wise also, corresponding to each person. I can find out what is his average marks across all subjects, right? So these two ways I can like aggregate this data. Like basically my objective is I want to like collapse all my rows into one row or all my columns into one column. So my axis I have to pass as my argument. If I don't pass, axis will be 0 default, or if I want axis equal to 1. So if you think with rows are axis equal to 0, columns are axis equal to 1, and you think that when I am trying to aggregate, I am trying to axis equal to 0, I am trying to aggregate over the rows. So finally I will get only one row as my output. And when I am doing it column wise, axis equal to 1, I am trying to aggregate columns. So finally I will get only one column as the output. So this thing you always keep in mind. So that will clear your doubt, because you may get a confusion when we do this and compared to whatever axis equal to 0, 1 that we saw earlier. And whatever confusion we had in last session on NumPy regarding axis equal to 0 and 1 also it get clear if you think like that. Axis equal to 0 always stands for rows. Axis equal to 1 always stands for columns. When you are doing aggregations, axis equal to 0 means you are collapsing multiple columns in rows into a single row. Axis equal to 1 means you are collapsing multiple columns into a single column. Keep that always in mind. So suppose similar to our previous example, I am having one unit test marks here for some particular 1, 2, 3, 4 people. Unit test 1, 2, 3 marks corresponding to math, science, social studies in the English. One data frame I am having. So let's see just what will happen if I try df.aggregate max. So corresponding to each column, it will give me what is the maximum value in that. So as I already told, this means that I am axis equal to 0 means that I am collapsing my data so as to get a single row as output, right? So as you can see in my single row as output will be, you assume I have a row here. So that will give me the maximum value in this column, which is Suhair, maximum value in this column, which should be 3, maximum value in this column, which will be 24, maximum value in this column 25, that way. So that is why I got the output here as Suhair 3, 24, 25. Now suppose let's see what will happen if I do this with the axis equal to 1. Aggregate for maximum with the axis equal to 1. Yeah, I will not get anything because I have a value Raman here. So I don't know what the Python compiler does not know what to do with that. So what I can do here is I will tell that I will just drop those two for the time being. I will just drop that name and the UT fields. And the one there is an argument called in-place equal to true. If you want these changes to happen to your data frame, you can use that. If you don't want to happen, modify your original data frame and you want to assign this to something else, you need not use this. If you want to change your original data phrase, key error name UT not found in access. Okay, now if I try aggregate along maxes, so I got this correspond to actually each of my so finally x equal to 1 I did. So as I already told, multiple columns you are collapsing into a single column. So my single column will be corresponding to maximum marks in this one, which will be 22, maximum marks in this one, which will be again 24, that kind of way. So once you get this thing clear, you can do all the aggregation functions and you can understand how you get outputs from options you can, because this thing is slightly confusing if you don't understand how you get this rows and columns in the output, because when you are giving access equal to 0 here, you will be actually getting like over the columns, and when you are actually you passing access equal to 1 here, you are actually getting like over the rows. So that thing may confuse if you don't get this thing in your mind. So always think access equal to 0 for rows, access equal to 1 for columns. When you don't do aggregation, access equal to 1, 0, you are making it to a single row. Access equal to 1, you are making it to a single column. So always keep this in mind. So now if I aggregate our max mean, so if I want multiple aggregations like max mean, some standard deviation and all, I can again pass it similar to earlier case, like passing it as a list. And suppose I want the marks for max and science with access equal to 1, I can get even that. And then coming to my last part, we will wind up in another 10 minutes. So indexing. So we, as you can see here, I actually dropped my data here, right? But I had one other option, that is I could have just changed this to my index and I could have directly called the aggregation function. That time I didn't, in that case, I don't have to like drop the entries. So I'll just show how that can be done. You can actually change the index to whatever column that you want in a, or for the rows in a data frame. So suppose I am telling it like name and the unit test column, I want to make it as my indexes. So you can see what happens. So this is what is called a hierarchical index. So if you have only one index, that is a normal index. If you have two index, the name Raman was there. So all those things got clubbed into a single hierarchical index in this case. So first index will be Raman, second index will be 1, 2, 3. Similarly for all other people. So this is one way in which I can like hierarchically index this thing. So if I want to change it again to my old index, I just have to call reset index in place equal to true. Now suppose I did not want this. I wanted hierarchical indexing based on unit test. As you can see, unit test 1, 2, 3 are here. So I want my hierarchical indexing to be something like 1, then Raman, Suhair, Ashravi, Mishti, then 2 for unit test 2, all 4 people, then for unit test 3, all 4 people. So I'll just see how we can do that. So let's see. Similar to that, but as you can see, that didn't happen, right? Because I didn't change the order of the data frame here. It took by default, and in the hierarchical indexing, I got like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 again. That hierarchical indexing thing that I wanted did not happen here. So that is because the things were wanted to be like clubbed was not like together, appearing together in the data. So I want to do something to make those entries appear together. So I will just reset my index. So that is where sort values and sort index things kind of come into picture. So suppose I sort values by the unit test number, then I got 1, 2, 3. Now if I do the same operation, I give it a hierarchical index like unit test and name, I will get the thing that I want. Corresponding to each unit test, I will get the marks of each person. Now suppose I want to sort the index. Again, it is already sorted, so we will go to the other example where this example. So we will just reset index. So when you go through the notebook, just make sure because we have like gone in a non-linear fashion. we have run it here and there. So that difference may come when you finally run it. So I just run this once again. So if you have some doubts, you can always refer to the video and then decide, because we have like run the cells in a non-linear fashion. Okay, so from this I want to sort it based on I want to make it alphabetical order, name of the people. So then what I can do is I can actually call a sort index function. So that will give me sort my data in the alphabetical order. Similarly, suppose the subjects I am having maths, science, social studies, Hindi, I want to again sort those in the alphabetical order. I will have to pass axis equal to 1 here. So that way I got English, Hindi, maths, alphabetical order, I got sort. Okay, so with that, I would like to wind up today's session. We have actually in our syllabus 2 more things, group by functions and pivot tables. So group by functions are like similar to this thing that we saw just now. It will like group it similar to hierarchical indexing. And then once you do that, it will try to take aggregation similar to what we saw in just previous, maybe taking mean, max, average, and all. So it is like a combination of this hierarchical indexing and the previous aggregation that we saw. And when we go to SQL, we will see this in more detail because this pandas group by and SQL group by are basically doing the same thing. And I have put a reference here. If you want some more details and examples, you can refer that. Another thing that we are having in our syllabus is pivot tables. So that is slightly similar to Excel pivot tables, if you know that. But from a beginner's point of view, it will be slightly confusing if we try to tell it in 2 minutes or something. So we will not attempt that here. So I put a link here, you can go through. So other than these two things, I think I have covered most of the things that we need for our course for pandas. And I think if everything is good, we can close. Any doubts? Okay, I was not monitoring chats in between. So I hope no questions were there. If any questions, you can ask.
Can you please one more time explain in place?
Yeah, in place. Okay. Okay, I removed my sharing. Okay. My screen is visible, right? So one simple example I will tell. So we will go to our this thing itself. So I have a data frame here. So now I am running sort values. Sort values. Same thing we will do here without with in place and without in place. We will try and let's see what happens. So without in place, we will try first. So I'm calling my sort same data frame as earlier. I am calling sort values by the unit test field and I run that. And it is giving me an output where the unit test 1 came first, 2 came, and this is as expected, right? Now suppose I try to print my data frame. As you can see, this particular change that we did here did not take effect in the actual data frame. So this was actually done in a copy of the data frame and it was returned at this point. So if I have an application like I want to assign it to another data frame, I can make use of this. This will work. But if I want to change the original df itself, one thing I can do is I will have to put like df equal to this thing like this. I will have to do a better option which is provided by pandas, and I think most of the Python libraries have things like this. Is similar. It is same as this. Df is equal to df dot sort values. That instead of I can just tell it that in place equal to true. So what is the difference between these two is that if I put df is equal to df dot sort values by equal to ut, it will actually take a copy of that thing. It will do the particular operation, then assign it back to that df. So that way, actually, if my size is like 100 MB, then 200 MB of space I need for that operation. But if I put it as in place equal to true, then in that 100 MB of actual data itself, this particular change will come. So that after that, if I print df, that will give the correct thing will get reflected in the output. So that is why it is called in place. You are telling it to make that change in your actual data frame itself. So there are two problems with this. One thing, you should try to make sure your operation is correct without using this. Then only you should like to implement this in your within place, because once you do in place, your actual data frame is modified. So sometimes you will have an option to revert back. Sometimes you will not. So you should always make sure that you get the whatever operations you want correctly without using in place. Then once you get that, you can then put the in place equal to true tag to make it applicable to your actual data frame. And one thing I actually skipped is actually using logical conditions between rows, columns, and all. So that thing is pretty straightforward considering what we did in Python and all. So that is why I didn't cover that. Our material you can go through. If you have some doubts, we can clear that in further sessions. Yeah.
I have one more doubt. It is like you have written in place equals to true. So is it like always if we use in place, do we have to write it true? Can it be sometimes false?
That thing is actually what is like a default. When we learned functions, we saw like default arguments. Like, so the default value of in place is false. So if I don't give any value to that, the function will take the default value of argument, which will be false. So now if I can put a true or false here, but the false is actually redundant, because even if I don't get any value, the function will take its default argument as false. So only when I want to make the change getting done in place in the data frame, I will pass it with a true argument. That's what you asked, right?
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Any more doubts? Any questions? I'll just go through the chat quickly. If you have no other doubts, I think we can close. I think Shirish answered whatever came up in chats. Okay, then we can close. Okay, goodbye all. Tomorrow we can see probability and statistics. Shirish will be covering inferential statistics and confidence intervals part. Okay. Thank you all. I will be ending the session.